All right, Bang Bang, welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. And today my guest is Brett. Brett, you are a grave digger.
Yep, that is correct.
We put the call out there probably 2 weeks or so ago. We're looking for people who have, unique or, just interesting blue collar jobs. Brett answered the bell from New Jersey out there. Needless to say, it's probably an interesting profession. How did you get into it? What's people's first reaction when you tell them that you're a gravedigger too?
So most people, when I tell them what I do, they're surprised that, I'm out during the day. I think because of TV and movies, people think that we're vampires, and I'm pretty much just a normal guy. I'm actually second generation. My dad started June 1st, 1989, and I was born June 6th, 1989. So I don't know anything different. All through school and stuff, helped out on the weekends. Was my dad's pal, working and stuff like that. Comes time to graduate, I was kind of done with the school thing. So I started working for Dad. Worked for Dad all summer, he and I together. Then pretty much he was like, well, you don't need me. You're doing this on your own. So he bought a tractor trailer and was just driving stuff local in case I needed help. But for the most part, I was 18 years old. I was my own boss, making my own schedule. And as long as Dad didn't get complaints, he really didn't care what I did. So I had it. It was a pretty sweet gig. 2012, my dad died. So I kind of got the business by default. And then at that point, we were just grave diggers, which means we just opened the hole and then we covered it back up. Somebody else would come and set the vault, which is the concrete box the casket goes in, and the tent and all that. With the help of my wife, 2 years ago, we started doing the burial vaults too, to kind of expand and stuff like that. So, I don't know any different. People, it's very odd to them. Some people are freaked out. They don't want to talk to me. They don't want to do anything with death or anything. But, to me, it's normal. It's my job.
Really? You get people that put the sign of the cross in front of you and they're like, hey.
People, we'll start talking like, what do you do for a living? And I'm like, oh, I'm a grave digger. And they think I go and I think grave robber is what they think. And they freak out. They're like, I want nothing to do with you. I can't be around people with death and stuff like that. And they just,
Yeah,
but some people are cool with it, and they sit down like we are, and I answer a million questions, which doesn't bother me. But it's pretty neat.
So now your story sounds very familiar to many people I've had on the show. I've had a mortician on, an undertaker, a funeral home person.
Oh, really? I didn't listen to that one. I'll have to go back and search that one. Yeah, I didn't listen to that one.
This was way back when. This is 2019, okay. Probably 6 months into the show. So yeah, I've had that on. And very fascinating conversation. We did it actually in one of the parlors, which was kind of creepy.
Okay.
But yeah, it was interesting. And now I'm like, okay, this is a whole different branch of that, And just a couple things you said right there were very interesting in the intro. But now, did your dad ever give you the story of why he started doing this? Like, what made him being like, hey, I think this is a good route. I think this would be good for us.
So my dad, where we live in New Jersey is very rural, which people don't really know about. People think New Jersey, I think like the Jersey Shore, North Jersey, stuff like that. But down here where I live, I'm about 20 minutes from Delaware. It's all country, farm, and stuff like that. So my dad did a little bit. He drove truck for farmers and stuff like that. So he ended up working for a guy that did burial vaults and grave digging both. And at that point, that guy wanted to separate. And why they wanted to separate, I'm not sure. So my dad bought the grave digging part from him. So my dad worked for a guy that did it, and then that part of that business became for sale. And then my dad did that. And he never got back involved in the burial vaults. He was a one-man band. The burial vaults is a little different because you have to have somebody there to lower the casket when the funeral pulls in. So you have to have multiple employees or multiple people that work for you. And grave digging is a little different. You can open the hole, someone else comes, does everything, and then you just got to show up later and put the dirt back on top and the flowers and stuff.
Definitely did not know that. Would not have thought that at all. That's interesting. And it's okay. So your dad too, he just kind of had the job and was like, all right, I might as well take this over and start my own business. That's unique from maybe, let's say, last month when I had the chimney sweep on. I don't know if you listened to that one, but he he was not like the profit margins and everything were so intriguing to him, and he got into it. And same thing, he did work for a company, then he made his own. But okay, that makes sense enough. And now I think a lot of people would assume that these graveyards, these cemeteries just had their own crew. So you're saying that you, being a grave digging company, you get called by the cemetery. So say if there's like 7 in your area, you just go to each different one that needs one dug up?
Correct. So I actually take care of about 40 some different cemeteries.
No shit.
But most of them, like I said, we're rural. Most of them are little cemetery churchyards that maybe they do one every year, one every 2 years. I have some that do, like maybe one a week. And then my busiest one, they do about 120 a year. And we're in there just about every day doing something, topsoiling them, grass seed. There's always something that has to be done. In that one, but mostly it's little churchyards that we dig in. So we have about 40 different ones. Like I said, some do 20 a year. On my busier ones, like 20 a year, and other ones just maybe do 4 a year, something like that.
See, people just don't think about this shit. I tell you, like nobody would ever think that they just didn't have their crew on site. Like I just figured the guy who's cutting the grass is digging the hole.
Yeah, which in the bigger cemeteries, which if you're in the city, that's pretty much what it is. Know. Because we do with the vaults, we do go into Philly. We were up in by next to New York this week. So, and that is the busier ones that have like 3 or 4 a day. Yeah, it makes sense for them to have a staff. Where the ones I'm going to, it doesn't make sense for them to have a staff. They would lose money in the first week.
Okay, so what I assume and what probably most people assume, that is the case for some places. It just depends where you're at.
Correct. So the stuff that we talk about is mainly here in rural South Jersey, where the cities is probably a whole different ballgame. A lot of those bigger places that are, could be 100 acres, hundreds of acres, they do have their own crew. Like
no point for that cemetery that you said does 4 a year to have someone on staff to do 4 digs.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Correct. He would be twiddling his thumbs all the time.
Yeah. Damn. Okay. So it just depends. You got 40 cemeteries. Now, are you like, what's that process? Are you going cemetery to cemetery being like, hey, I'm Brett. I offer up my services. I'd like to be your digger.
So most of the cemeteries we've had since my dad started. And when he bought the company, he got them. And we've picked up some, not to sit here and like pat myself on the back, but we have a pretty good reputation. I like to think I'm a nice guy, so as long as we do good work and everything that I have complaints, then we just get them. And sometimes there's not many of us around. There's not many grave diggers around. So that, if they're looking for somebody, they'll say, hey, call Brett, and we'll go over there and we'll dig and stuff like that. So we usually try to dig the graves a day ahead of time. In case you're running any problems, equipment breaks down, or there's already somebody buried there that's in an unmarked grave. Because a lot of these, cemeteries and stuff, they're graves from, they in 1800s where they didn't have good records. A lot of the problems I have is these cemetery caretakers, they do it as a part of the church to help out their church. They do it forever. They don't write a lot of stuff down, and then a lot of stuff's in their mind, and then they pass away, and they take a lot of that information with them. So then someone new comes in, and we're trying to like piece a puzzle together that happened, years ago.
Damn. So how many times a year will that happen where you dig up and it's like, oh, there's bones here. There's a casket here.
Honestly, just maybe like 2 or 3.
2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah, 2 or 3 times a year it happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that fucked up? Is that like do you feel like you're spiritual? Are you a spiritual guy?
I'm not a spiritual guy, really, but I do feel bad. Like I don't want to, interrupt someone that's in their eternal rest,
Yeah.
But no, I do feel bad, and I can usually tell before I get like really into it that there's a problem. Like the dirt will start to change color. There might be a piece of cloth. Bones themselves, they're just like roots. Mm-hmm. So, if I run into that, I stop right away. I call the cemetery caretaker, and I just tell them, hey, we got a problem. There's somebody already here. And then they have to call the family or the funeral director and try to pick another lot and stuff like that.
And so do they ever even take the time to like put a marker there next and be like, hey, maybe we should find out who this is, or what do you think? I mean, I'm sure every place is different.
I know like some people, they'll put like, something there, but really there's no way to figure out who that person is. It's just somebody did something years ago and didn't write it down. And it's like, we have no way of knowing who this person is.
Because how many years do you get before that it's fair game, that spot again? Do you know?
I don't know.
But that's a thing though, right? I've heard that's a thing. I don't know. Maybe it's not.
Like that might be a thing in the Midwest. That's, to me, I don't know that. Like we had in one of my cemeteries, we had a spot, a grave, an open grave that, this family owned, they bought, and the guy was born in like 1900, and we still had the records for him, like that he wasn't buried there. So the lady from the cemetery Googled it. His name came up, his obituary where he died like a long time ago, and this grave's just empty. So she just, stapled the obituary to the card, the index card that said, someone's buried here, and just, it's up for sale because someone wanted to buy it next to their loved one that was already there. So okay. That could be a thing. It's just, I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, who knows? Damn, dude. So, because like I said, I'm not, being one of those people that's like super spiritual and holds the sign of the cross like away from you. But at some point, you're right. Like, I don't know how I'd feel on the other side to be like, well, fuck, that probably wasn't good that I hit someone's grave. Yeah,
I feel bad about it, but I don't want to say like life goes on, but it's just another day for me. It bothers me that day. Like, man, I try to put it back the way I found it, and be respectful about it, even if no one's looking. It's just doing the right thing,
Yeah, it's your job, Like you have to, you have to move on. Like it's
right.
It's your job. Yep. Now, what if someone calls you? They're like, hey, Brett, what's the name of your company?
B. DuBois Jr. LLC.
Okay, B. DuBois Jr.
So
LLC.
it's just my name.
Yeah.
Yep.
So someone, hey Brett, I got this spot. It's in my backyard or it's in the woods, and I was just wondering if you could dig it. It's for my dog. Like, do you do jobs like that, or is that like?
Oh yeah,
what do you do?
I've buried dogs when the ground was real hard. Like they can't dig it with a shovel.
Mm-hmm.
I've buried some horses. I've done that kind of stuff.
But what if it's not for a fucking animal though?
I guess I never thought about that. Usually if it's a horse, I know because the horse is laying there next to it and I put it in and cover it up. A dog, it's not a very deep grave, and usually the dog is right there that I throw the dog in too. But no, it's a very small town where I live. I kind of know everybody. If someone shady was like, I need you to dig this grave, I might be like, I can't right now. I'm a little busy.
Yeah.
But I never thought about that if it's not for the actual intended use.
Wait, it's your job to throw the dog in too?
It's not my job, but I helped them. Like this one time, this lady that I know, she worked at the hardware store. She was pet sitting for these people, and the dog died when she was pet sitting. And she's like a 65-year-old lady. She can't go out in the middle of summer. The ground's hard and dig it. So she had it on a tarp or a blanket, and I dug the hole and put it in the hole and covered it up. So I don't get too many dogs. I think that's the only dog that I did. Mostly it's, a horse or something like that.
A horse, huh?
Yeah.
Those things are fucking big.
Hole. Yeah, it's a pretty big hole. Yep.
And so what's the what are you using to dig this? What's your
so
let's
I
get
have
tools.
I have a backhoe, and I also have a mini excavator. We dug with a backhoe for years, and then a smaller backhoe. Like some guys have these big backhoes they dig with. It's just too much of a pain to get in and out of the cemeteries with the tight, with the stones and everything like that. It's a pain. So we have a smaller backhoe, and then we just bought a mini excavator, which is the one that like spins all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
And so we use that too. So we have two machines we use, and then I got a little small dump truck.
And obviously they say 6 feet under. Is that actually correct? Is that the proper length, the proper measurement?
Not anymore. I'm sure there's people that go 6 feet.
Ooh.
Us personally, and most people around here, we're only going like 4.5 feet.
Oh, okay.
4.5, 5 feet.
What's the logic behind that? What's the reasoning?
So once you put the vault in the ground and then you put the lid on, there's only maybe like 1.5 feet, 2 feet of dirt on top. It's less to settle. Because if you dig something and it's just going to keep settling forever, because you figure lawnmowers are running over it. I might drive it with my backhoe if I'm digging one next to it or something like that. So less to settle. And really, there's no reason to go that deep anymore. You're not having critters dig them up at night and stuff like that. Now, there is times where, mostly in the cities and stuff like that, where they'll do what they call double depths, and they'll stack the two vaults on top of each other. So with that, you're going down, 8, 9 feet for the first one. And then you dig down. When the second person dies, you dig down to that. So, to that top of that vault lid. So there is times where they are 8 feet, 9 feet. Sometimes more if they're triple depth in the cities or something like that, where they'll run out of space. But they're real dangerous. I don't like to do the double depths. That's all dangerous. You got, a 9-foot hole, which doesn't sound like much, until you stand in it and look up and you can't see anything. And then you have people walking beside it. It's going to cave in and stuff like that. So we do them. I don't really like to. So
you're afraid someone's going to fall in.
Yeah. You have people walking, pallbearers like that carrying the casket. And there's just, We don't have very like rocky soil here. A lot of it's sandy and stuff like that, clay, so it could cave in and stuff like that. It's a safety issue. I don't want anybody to get hurt.
I don't know why that's not more common though, to just stack them. Like if it's like a husband and a wife or something. How common is that?
I maybe do like maybe 2 or 3 double depths a year.
Really?
Like I know if you go to cities, they're doing them every day. Like that's all they have is double depths, or triple depths or stuff like that. But around here, I only do them maybe 2 or 3 times a year, not too often.
Yeah. Hey, let's take a quick break here and let's talk about innovative care, because if you are currently taking ADHD medication, it's probably a headache. Probably got jump through a bunch of hoops and probably a bunch of things you need to do. And that's why you need to go to innovativeadd.com today and sign up and switch over to them, because Innovative ADHD is based here in Chicago, and they're medical providers you can trust. You'll definitely want to use them for your ADHD management, but you can also turn to Innovative for other things related to primary care or urgent care. Innovative is a real medical clinic and not one of those online-only refill services. Simplify your ADHD management with Innovative. After your initial appointments, you can see your provider virtually through telemedicine. Innovative ADHD accepts insurance for evaluations and medication refills, and they do it with dignity and compassion. And the best part is they take insurance. A lot of other companies don't do that, so you're getting something good there with Innovative because they can help you out. Insurance is always nice. Try it now at innovativeadd.com. And remember, you must be a resident of Illinois to qualify for this. One more time, innovativeadd.com. Get rid of that headache, people. Switch over. Do it today. All right, let's get back to the episode. And I assume you're pretty weather dependent, right? Because if it's rainy out and shit, you can't be taking that excavator and that backhoe and just running shit over and just chopping up people's grave, right?
No, we're not weather dependent, unfortunately.
Really?
We work all kinds of weather, snowstorms. It's very, very odd for someone to cancel a funeral because of weather, like a snowstorm or something, because you figure people might be flying in from somewhere. They got all these planes, they got a place picked out for lunch and a caterer. So it's very odd. I hate working in the snow. Yeah. Like I couldn't do my job where you live with all the snow, because I got to plow the cemetery out with my backhoe. I got to plow my way in. I got to dig the grave. I'm probably getting stuck or slipping or something on the snow. The ground freezes. You got to jackhammer the ground when the ground freezes. Luckily, we don't get much frost around here. But yeah, it's just I wish my job was weather dependent. I hate working in the rain because everything's muddy. Like you said, you make a mess of it. I got to go back later and topsoil and grass seed it and clean it up, and it's mud and it's a mess. But
so
no,
do you charge
I'm not
more? Do you charge more with bad weather? I feel like that should be a thing.
I mean, there is a we call it frost fee. So if the ground's frozen, I have to jackhammer it. We will charge like an extra $75 because it takes a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. But as far as the rain or something like that, no, we don't charge for that.
Because if you're tracking up everything on the way to the grave, you got to refill. You got to redo that, right? Or
Yep.
Damn.
Yep. If I get stuck or whatever, I got to go back and fix all that, and that's just. I mean, some are easy right on the road, and I guess they're the ones that make up for the ones that are more of a pain in the ass,
Yeah, and do you get bogged down a lot?
No, what do you mean, like getting stuck?
Yeah.
No, my equipment's pretty light, and I know, like, if it rained a lot, like, all right, I'm not driving in here, with my dump truck with a load of dirt, because it's going to at that point weigh, 10,000 pounds or something like that. But my backhoe's light. I can usually just get it right over the top without making much of a mess. So you just gotta think about it. Like, you don't want to go in and tear it up. So you just try to take the same way in, the same way out, and not, mess a bunch of stuff up.
Yeah, no, for sure. And anything particularly gross when you're digging these things up, what's the most common thing to see? Or is it just, hey, it's just plain old dirt? Or have you ever found
it's just plain old dirt? Like that's what most people, like we talked about before, that they get like freaked out or something. I just play in the dirt, really. Yeah. I mean, I don't really see the dead bodies that much with this, side of it. I just play in the dirt,
Yeah.
We see caskets every day, but it's very odd. They're opening them up and looking at the dead body.
Mm-hmm. What's a standard what's a standard rate, I guess, if someone's like, hey, we need a hole, what do you charge and whatnot?
So I have a fee Monday through Friday, and then I get another little bit extras on Saturday. So like I said, this is just, I'm sure, I doubt if any other gravediggers listen to your show, but I charge $500 Monday through Friday, and then I get $550 for Saturdays. So because got to pay overtime and stuff like that. But if you go to the city and stuff like that, they're charging $2,000 for one hole, or $1,000 or whatever. So around mostly the rural stuff, they're mostly right around $500 to $700 in that price range.
And you have, like you said, you have nothing to do with that contraption that lowers it and everything like that.
I do. So there's technically two businesses. So the grave digging is I work for the cemetery.
Okay,
so
yes, because you said you expanded that. Your dad,
yeah,
when you okay, and then, you took it over.
And then like I said, with helping my wife, we expanded, and now we do the burial vaults. But it's like for the burial vaults, we work for the funeral home, so we follow the funeral home. So sometimes they come to a cemetery that we dig, and then we do the opening, and we do the vault and the lowering device and the tent and the chairs. But other times, it might be a cemetery we don't dig at, and then we just take the vault and do the setup, or maybe just put the vault in because the cemetery is big enough. They do their own setup. So it's kind of like two different niches there, two different companies.
And have you ever had that situation where your vault maybe didn't stay and it kind of fell in? But I feel like you're screwed then, right? Or that's a big issue.
You mean with the casket when they put it on the lowering device?
Yeah, or just in any situation where it falters because, the soil is too soft or something where it just like kind of caves in. Does that happen often?
Oh, I've had cave-ins, but usually once you get the bottom of that concrete box in the hole, cave-ins aren't a big deal because it can only go, there's only about 2 or 3 inches around the vault once it's in the hole. Yeah. So once it's in there, it doesn't cave in far. But I've had times where, real sandy soil, we're standing up there helping carry the casket on, and something decides to cave in, and then now there's dirt in the bottom of the vault. Well, you can't lower that casket because it won't sit flush in there, and you won't be able to put your lid on. So then you got to like roll the casket off to one side, kind of jump down in the hole, shimmy down in there, clean it out. Well, the casket's like over top of you. You're looking up at the casket, and then jump out, roll it back, and lower it. And I get very nervous every time to make sure my lowering device doesn't fail, and then the casket just drops. But we have safety boards we put in. So if it did drop, it would only go down 3 inches and it would catch the safety boards. A lot of times people wouldn't even realize it. I've had instances, it's mechanical. They fail. We upkeep them, we check them, but there's always times where something fails. I've had instances where something has failed and it's fell down on the safety boards, but it's a oh shit moment for about 2 seconds. But by the time you realize what's going on, it's usually on the safety board and it's over with, and you can fix it and not have a problem.
Damn. So you're sitting there and you're like when you're doing that, when you have someone that you're taking care of the lowering device and whatnot, you're watching that, and that's like all eyes are on that. Like you're just kind of shitting your pants every time.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's my business. It's my name on the door. I don't want anything to go wrong. Not just for me, but for the funeral director. Like if I'm the direct relation to the funeral director, right? So he has to look good for his family, so they come back and use him again, because if something goes wrong, they're going to assume it's him and not use him again. So I'm a direct, how I look, my appearance, my setup, everything is a relation to how the funeral director looks. I got to keep him looking good so he keeps using me. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So if something bad like that happens, it looks bad on, XYZ funeral home. So I got to keep him looking good.
Yeah.
So
now I might become obsessed with finding the person who is the gravedigger to see their face when that thing's getting lowered, to see how scared they are. That's
yeah. I mean, some guys maybe don't care. Maybe they're just employees and they don't care. But every time I'm like, okay, let's just hope that this holds. I mean, especially when you get somebody that's oversized. Like when someone overweight dies and doesn't fit in a standard casket, you got to get a bigger vault. And I think the lowering devices we have are rated for like 800 pounds. But still, I'm nervous every time because you don't know if that thing's just going to decide to let loose. Because, you're usually putting maybe like 200 or 300 pounds on it. Now you're putting 600 pounds on it, between the person and the casket. You don't know if that thing's going to, maybe it does 200 pounds all day, every day, no problem. But you put 600, it's going to let loose. And then everyone's standing there and, that's not good.
Different. Yeah, that's definitely not good. Hey, you ever drop like your phone or something in on accident? What do you But when you're digging, not like
I haven't.
No.
I haven't. I do know a guy in one of the cemeteries. He's lost 2 phones. He lost them when they were lowering it. He'll put it in his shirt pocket, and then you have to bend over to get the straps out. And they fell in. One he got, back. The other one, he said, don't worry about it. So I do know a guy that's lost 2 phones down there.
Oh, no. That's brutal. That's brutal.
Yeah.
Man.
Yep.
Yeah, this is interesting stuff, man. I honestly, the whole process and everything, the nuts and bolts that go into all of it, like I said when I had the mortician on, and I didn't even think to think that you guys existed. So, and you guys might exist in different capacities all around the United States or the world, but that's interesting stuff, man. Anything else, that we kind of didn't get to, and what's interesting?
No, I mean, you mentioned like having something left down in the casket or something like that, or losing something. We had one time where we let the guy down, and my buddy who works for me now, he worked for another company. He was the vault guy for that one. That's before we did vaults, and we lowered the casket, put the concrete lid on. He left. His shop was like 45 minutes away. He headed home. It was like late on a Friday or something. I put the dirt on. I was raking it out, putting the flowers on. The funeral director called me up and was like, Brett, we got a problem. I'm like, what's that? He goes, I need the wedding ring off of that guy's finger. The family wants it. And I forgot to grab it before. And I was like, yeah, you're kidding. He's like, no, I'm serious. And I was like, all right, well, I'll call Jack and have him come back because I can't pull this lid off. I said, so by the time you get here, we should be ready for you. So I called Jack and I was like, you got to come back. And he thought I was kidding. I was like, I need you to pull this lid off. We need the wedding ring. So he's like, all right. So he was just about back to the shop. So he comes back. I dig down, he pulls on his truck. We lift the lid off, and everyone's just kind of like looking at each other. The funeral director's got his suit on still. So I was like, I'll go. So I jumped down and I kind of straddled the edge of the vault and opened the casket. And there's the guy laying there. I reached down and pulled his wedding ring off and handed it to the funeral director. I closed the lid, the casket. We put the lid back on. I covered it up again, and we went home. So
oh my God,
that's the only time I've done that. There's been times where before we lower it, the funeral director will come up to me and say, he'll whisper like, I need her earrings. Don't lower it, until I get the earrings off, or I need that necklace. I forgot to take it. Because they'll put the necklace on for the viewing, but then the family wants to keep it later. And if the funeral director forgets to take it off, once the family leaves, we got to open the casket and pull it off. And I just feel like all the eyes are on me at that point. Like we're robbing this old lady before she gets, goes down. But that's what has to happen sometimes.
Holy shit. You just ripped this fucking ring off that guy's finger?
Yeah. Luckily, he was the ring was a little too big, and it just like slid right off. But yeah, I was down the hole and just had to pick his hand up and slide his wedding ring off.
I mean, I'm happy it was like, I couldn't imagine hopping down fucking 4.5 feet and playing tug of war with some dead guy for his ring. That would be absolutely horrific.
I didn't expect it either, but you got to do what you got to do sometimes. And no one else was volunteering to jump in there. And I wanted to go home. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll jump in there and take care of it.
Well, he fucking forgot it. You should have had him jump down.
I know, but what did we say before? You got to keep the funeral director happy.
Yeah.
Customer service, I guess. My customer service was good that day.
Well, he better still use you to dig his grave.
He uses me. He's a good friend of mine. He uses me.
All right, that's good. That makes me happy to hear at least. And I actually, what's your thoughts on just people being buried into the ground in general? And obviously, it's your fucking life, and you need it to continue. But it's becoming less common, I feel. Is that true or false?
It's 110% true. Okay. I mean, back when my dad was digging graves, he was doing like 300 burials a year. And now you talk to some funeral directors, their cremation rate is about 50%, where before is maybe like 10%, 5%.
Oh, shit.
People are just getting cremated way more. And then you can have the argument or the discussion about whether it's people's views changing or it's cheaper or, whatever. But the fact is cremations are really, it's the new norm, So I worry about it a little bit because it's my livelihood, and I'm still somewhat young. I feel like I have a long career ahead of me, and if cremations are more of the thing, then I may have less and less to do. But it is what it is. You just got to go with the flow. I can't control that,
Yeah, I mean, it'll always be there to some capacity, right? It'll some degree.
Yeah, and a lot of people do just bury the cremations. They'll bring the urn out, and I actually prefer them because I only need to pick up a wheelbarrow and a shovel, and I'm there for an hour instead of the day before with a backhoe, a dump truck, a trailer, and all this insurance and stuff.
Yeah, that's probably beautiful. Someone says, "Oh, I wanted some of the rubble," but before you put it out, you just take a little shovel and you go and you give them that. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Yep.
You'll be fine. Yeah, and even like putting the people into putting people into the wall. Like, is that?
Oh, the mausoleums.
Yeah,
that's pretty
is that?
expensive.
Yeah.
That's pretty expensive. So that's not pretty common around here.
Oh,
I mean, we have them, or something like in the city, it's common. But like it's a lot to do that. So people that have money, decide to do that, but not too much around here.
Okay, so that's not as frequent.
No, I've only done that one time. Usually there's other companies stuff that'll do that. I've only had to do that one time.
50% as opposed to 5 or 10% years ago.
Yeah,
that's
some guys are at 50%. I would say 30 to 40 definitely.
Yeah,
30 to 40% definitely is cremation right now.
And now is Gravedigger the monster truck driver? Is he your favorite driver, or is that Stolen Valor?
Yeah, of course. I mean, he has to be, right? I get that a lot, actually.
You do get that a lot?
Oh, I've heard all of the bad jokes. Like, I hear them weekly. Oh, you're the last one to let somebody down, or people are just dying for your work, and I'm like, yeah. That was funny the first 47 times, but I get a lot. I actually had beer koozies made up with my logo on one side, and on the other side it said, "We put the fun in funeral," because I figured that there was. I don't want to put on a T-shirt. That's kind of tacky, but on a koozie, people are drinking, having a good time. So it's a little bit more. It's a little more laid back.
Holy shit. Well, wow, Brett, thanks for doing this. Is there anything else we didn't get to? Anything fascinating? That story was great. Before we have
I think we're covered. You got any more questions for me? I mean, whatever. It's not something you get to talk to a gravedigger every day. So
no, this was great, man. I really appreciate you jumping on. Thank you for listening to the show, by the way.
Oh, no problem, man. You get me. I get a lot of our jobs kind of hurry up and wait. You get there in the morning, get everything set up, and then you got a couple hours to kill till the family gets there. So yeah, it's a great show to listen to, man.
Yeah, no,
thanks for keeping me entertained.
I appreciate that, man. I really do. And what's your what's the business? How could people get in contact? I feel like if people could bury pets, I feel like that could be another avenue that you could always.
That could be a buddy of mine. He has a pet. He owns a pet crematory.
Oh,
yeah,
no
so
shit.
he has it. Yeah, so that's the thing. People like their pets sometimes more than their families. So we got a Facebook page. I mean, I've got a website that's more or less just for my funeral directors and stuff. But we're out there. I don't have to advertise too much. Like, none of my shirts or anything have the phone numbers because people know in the business kind of know how to get a hold of you. So.
All right then. So nothing to get out there then, really.
No.
That's great. That's great. Brett, thanks again, man. This was great.
No problem, Ed. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. That's it for today. We'll catch you guys next time.